Abby, really great use of the grid. I think that the clean pages is directly a testament of the success of the grid that you've established and that you're adhering to through the presentation. So really good job. I'm enjoying the presentation. One thing I noticed immediately is that this typeface right here changes about halfway through the presentation to this. And that's kind of a jarring. I think this is much better. I'd take this a step further. I would go straight sans serif on this. I really think it will add a contemporary flair. And it's okay to use sans serif for the headline and your body copy. I understand you want to create a little variety there, but I just think that this is just too traditional for a contemporary event. But at the very least, watch your type size as it changes halfway through the presentation. Okay, let's jump over to page 1, table of contents. We're going to look at that in a second when I look at the version with your grid. But this is good. I think, this typeface is a little large, I think. But you'll be adjusting that type anyway, so we'll wait to comment on that to your next presentation, which will be your last presentation, of course. But unless you submit before final presentation, so be sure to submit to Critique Board early so we can get on this. I think one of the things I'm seeing in your presentation is I think some of your images are very large. This is really large. I don't really see any reason to bleed this off the page. I mean, I think that we could really use that, in this area right here instead of just this big, giant, large graphic here. This page looks fantastic. And again, this is great testament to very consistent use of the grid. And you're breaking the grid too, which is nice too. I mean, you're not just showing, headline type image. You're not just showing that on every page. I think you've broken it up a little bit. So that's fantastic. I'm loving it. I really am. Nice variation into a 3-column grid, 3-column type presentation. Good image integration. Typography looks good. Good page hierarchy. Again, this graphic is so big. I mean, can we, and I see have it bleeding or kind of transparency off and kind of fading in, but anyway, we can just kind of maybe not even bleed it off the page, but just reduce the size a little bit. It's just really large. This page looks great. Really good hierarchy in your pages. I think it's very, very obvious where you want the viewer to look. Now, I do want to talk about a little bit of variation on this page, but I'll wait till we get to the grid version. Again, here and here as well. Same things, but the presentation is very, very, very consistent. Pictograms, again, pictograms are pretty large, but I'll talk about that in a second in the grid page too. This page looks fantastic. Great job. I'm loving what I'm seeing. I really am. Okay, let's move. Okay, now, as you said, you're a little underdeveloped. I'd like to see more placement. Many, many more placement shots I think would help. And I think that you alluded to that in your writing. Got a ton of work to do. So, yeah, you know that. So let's jump to the grid version so we can take a look at that. And just a couple of things. I wanted to talk about the scale of your graphics. Okay, table of contents is placed right above the grid line here and the gutter, but the rest of the presentation is placed below the gutter. For that reason, I would definitely stick with that formula, place that down here so that it's consistently, and it would be in alignment with history. When you turn the page, that'll be in alignment with history. One of the things I also noticed is the type size here changes, specifically transportation, because transportation is a longer word. You've reduced the type size, and that's kind of a no-no in graphic design. You don't want to do that. I just noticed another inconsistency. Watch location jump out of the grid right there. See how history butts right up to the gutter, to that right margin where before the gutter. Look at location, doesn't. So, and then neither does climate. So you want to either get that right up there but make sure it's consistent on each page. But again, as I was saying, you can't change the type size in order to accommodate the size that it needs to fit in. That would have to be consistent throughout the entire presentation. So that will definitely have to be worked out. Personally, I think it's an easy fix because I think this type size here is too large in relationship to the body copy. So what I would reduce the headline size anyways. See how that works out. You should be able to fit transportation in there. If not, you're going to have to figure that one out, but you can't leave it like that because that's just a jarring inconsistency right there. Okay. Wanted to talk a little bit more about the placement of the images. This page looks good. It's got a nice smooth flow to it. Again, that's a really large graphic. Same here. Okay, so you've placed in within the grid, which is fantastic. But so you've got these 4 quadrants here for the grid for placement for this. It doesn't mean you have to kind of use the whole thing. You can just kind of, you know, maybe this big or maybe something like that. But these are the drawings themselves are pretty big, and then you're going to reduce the size of the final graphics as well. Although that's not really as necessary. I just think the sketches are a little bit too large. Sorry about that, but maybe something like that for your sketches. Okay, next page, same thing here. Same thing. Same thing here, about like that. Instead of having these big giant pictograms. This page looks great. Tickets look. This page looks fantastic. I love this page. This is wonderful. Yeah, this is really distracting over here. Maybe you don't need to use the whole right-hand side of the spread for this image because that's background image is really distracting. Maybe we can just get this cropped and maybe show it somewhere within, you know, somewhere within the page. Another thing I would recommend is this. Excuse me. Everything here has a written backup to it, except when we get down here to some of your collateral materials, you've stopped giving your written descriptions. I would not do that. I mean, you can actually even continue your text box down here. As long as you're using a 1-column grid for your text, there's no reason you can't continue your type down here. It will be consistent. It will be mathematically correct. What I'm getting at is give us a little description of the tickets. Give us a little description of the advertising. Give us a little description of the wayfinding. That will fall in line directly with the fact that each one of these has a description as well. The other option is to just move all of your text boxes underneath that. That's something it doesn't matter either way. It really doesn't. I think one of the things that I would think about if you're coming over here and adding type specifically to these areas, you know what? Now that I think about it, I would keep the typography consistent. Keep the headline in the left column, the type in the next column, then start your graphics. So over here, for example, tickets, you would have to recompose this page so that the second column in the grid would be free for your explanation, your description of what of how you assembled your tickets. That's an easy fix because you can take this whole graphic, reduce it in size, and show the 3 tickets at a smaller size while still using the whole right-hand spread for that oversized image. Likewise here, type will fit right there. Likewise. One thing I noticed about this page is that you've got this width here and this width here, okay? So they're fit in the center of the column, the center of the gutter. They're centered around the gutter for each of these 2 columns in the grid, but this one pushes from from left margin to right margin within the grid. What I would do is I would take that image and I would crop it so it's the same size. So you have 3 equal areas in that page. Then, of course, you would have your type describing the merchandise. That's an easy fix. Reduce the size of the t-shirt there and start your type here. Okay, then of course you need your credits page and your back cover. All right, so all is well. I think I love it, man. I love it. I think the presentation is fantastic. Again, a couple of just a couple of those little consistencies. I really want you to try a sans serif and watch your leading and your kerning. This is kerned really tightly. These letters are almost touching each other, and the leading is really tight too. So the line spacing is very, very tight, resulting in a typographic color that's very dark. We can see that, whoops, when we back out a little bit. So I think that by lightening up the typographic color of those text blocks by using a sans serif typeface, increasing the leading and the kerning just a little, I think it'll add a nice airiness to that page, to the text areas of the pages. But otherwise, I'm loving what I'm seeing. Great job. Can't wait to see more. Any questions? Let me know. Thanks, Abby.